Hey there, fellow gun folks. If you're anything like me, you've probably spent more than a few late nights mulling over the perfect .22 long rifle load for your next trip out to the range or the back 40. Well, the year 2025 is bringing us 7 brand new rounds that'll have your trigger finger twitching. These ain't just the same old plinking fodder in a shiny new box. These are freshly cooked up, purpose-built cartridges made to take your rimfire setup to the next level, whether that means quieter, tougher, or just plain more enjoyable. Whether you're a suppressor-loving tinkerer, an old-school lever-action cowboy, or one of those squirrel-slaying sharpshooters, there's something in this batch that's bound to spark your interest. So go ahead, settle in, crack open a cold one, and let's take a look at what's new. And hey, if you're feeling it, go ahead and give that like button a tap and subscribe to Beam Firearms. We've got plenty more headed your way. CCI Clean 22 Hyper Velocity. Let's start with a round that's basically the Ferrari of .22 long rifle. The CCI Clean 22. Hyper Velocity doesn't mess around. It's fast, clean, and hits like a ton of bricks. Picture this. You're out on the back 40 trying to tag a squirrel at 100 yards with most .22 rounds. You're praying the wind don't start laughing at you. But this little brute, a 32 grain, polymer-coated bullet blasting out at 1,550 feet per second, that's .22 Magnum territory, folks. And you don't need to buy a new rifle to get there. It's made for long shots and small game, flattening out your trajectory so you're not guessing, drop like a weatherman guessing spring rain. What really makes it stand out is that polymer jacket. It ain't just there for looks. It cuts lead fouling by a full 80%. I've fed hundreds of rounds through my Ruger 10/22, and that barrel still shines like I just ran a brush through it. Less scrubbing means more shooting, and that's how I like to spend my day. It also knocks down splashback when you're hitting steel safer and a whole lot cleaner. They fine-tuned the powder to keep muzzle flash low, so you're not flashing the treetops like you're calling in little green men. At $11.99 for 50 rounds, it ain't the cheapest, but you're getting what you pay for. Heads up, though, that kind of speed can wear on older rifles, so give your setup a once-over before letting it rip. If you're after a .22 that flies flatter and runs cleaner, this one's your huckleberry. Aguila Super Extra Hollow Point. Next up, here's a round that proves you don't need deep pockets to put game in the freezer. Aguila's Super Extra Hollow Point got a 2025 tune-up, and it's hitting way above its weight. This 38 grain copper-plated hollow points got something called progressive expansion technology. Sounds high-tech, but it just means the bullet opens up right without turning your rabbit into stew meat. I've seen it dump energy into gel with 9 to 10 inches of penetration and a clean 36-inch spread. That's perfect for squirrels or raccoons when you want meat on the table, not a mess. But the real kicker? Reliability. Aguila's Surefire Primer hits a 99.9% ignition rate. No more click when you're counting on a bang. They even sealed the case and primer, so it'll still light off after a rain-soaked weekend riding in your pack. At $6.99 for 50 rounds, it's a flat-out steal. And if you pick up the 500-round brick, you'll save even more coin. Now sure, it ain't match grade, and the copper coat's a bit on the thin side, so it might gunk up a suppressor after a few hundred shots. But for hunting, or just shooting cans off a fence post, it's a no-brainer. It's budget-friendly, it's reliable, and it hits like it means it. What's not to like? Quietest Suppressor, hey, all right? Suppressor, folks, this one's right up your alley. The CCI Suppressor Max is the quietest factory .22 long rifle I've ever squeezed a trigger on, hands down. We're talking a 45 grain, polymer-coated, lead-round nose humming along at 950 feet per second, subsonic, slick, and sneaky. CCI didn't just toss a heavy slug in the mix and call it good. They went in and reworked the primer to drop ignition noise by 15%, and the case has some real backwoods wizardry going on with its acoustic dampened geometry. The result? just 113.2 decibels at the muzzle. That's quieter than a mouse letting one go nearly half the racket of your standard subsonics. The slug's made from alloy-hardened lead that holds up longer in your barrel, and the coat keeps your suppressor from getting caked up too quick. I ran it through my suppressed Mark V, and it cycled smoother than hot grease on cast iron. Accuracy? Tight as a tick, sub-minute of angle at 50 yards. At $12.99 for 50 rounds, it ain't what you'd call cheap, but if you're the quiet type, it's worth every red cent. No hollow point yet, and it might stumble a bit in older rifles with stiff springs, but for suppressed shooting, this one's sitting on the throne. Think of nighttime pest patrol or backyard plinking without the sheriff showing up. Norma Subsonic the 22. If you're the sort that dreams of stacking tight little holes in paper or taking out varmints without stirring the neighbors, the Norma Subsonic 22 is your ticket. This ain't your average plinking load. It's match-grade ammo that just prefers to whisper instead of holler. Norma's been known a long while for precision in the centerfire game, and they brought that same fine-tooth focus to the 22 long rifle world. This one's a 42-grain lead-round nose moving at 990 feet per second. That's slow enough to stay subsonic even with a can, but steady and true enough to make you look like a marksman. What makes it special? The attention to detail. Norma keeps the bullet seat and depth within plus or minus 0.002 inches. That's tighter than a taxman's handshake. Bullets are swagged for uniformity, meaning everyone flies just like the last. And that extra weight in the 42-grain slug helps it hold energy better than the light stuff. I ran a few boxes through my CZ Goop 457 with a can, and it was almost unfair groups under 1 minute of angle, and velocity spreads tighter than 20 feet per second. It's like the ammo version of a cold-bore sniper shot dead on every single time. Even the packaging's dialed in. Each box comes sealed to keep the damp out, and you can look up your lot's quality check numbers online if that's your kind of thing. At $14.99 for 50 rounds. It's the high-end pick of the bunch. And yeah, it's overkill for just blasting pop cans. But for match shooters or suppressor folks who want only the best, it's worth every nickel. Think of it like the craft beer of 22 long rifle, refined, precise, and just a touch fancy. Remington Performance Wheel on 22 Revolver folks, time to tip your hats. The Remington Performance Wheel Gun 22 is the first 22 long rifle cooked up just for your trusty six shooters. And it's about dang time someone tipped their cap to us. Standard 22 loads can be real hit or miss in a wheel. Gun short barrels and cylinder gaps bleed out velocity, and soft rims can lead to misfires when it counts. Remington said, "Not on our watch," and came out swinging with a 40-grain lead, round nose pushing 1,050 feet per second from a 4-inch barrel. The magic? A custom blended powder that burns hot and fast, even in those little snubbies, so you're getting consistent speeds and tighter groups. Plus, the rim's beefed up by 10%, making for rock-solid ignition, even in those old wheel guns with tired springs. I gave it a run through my Smith & Wesson Model 17, and after 500 rounds, it never missed a beat. No duds, no drama. The brass has this green polymer stripe to stop bullet setback, and the whole case is slick-coated for smooth pulling from the chamber. And let's be honest, it looks sharp too. On the accuracy front, it's dead on for squirrel-sized targets out to 25 yards. At $8.99 for 50 rounds, it's a hard deal to beat. Only thing to watch? That thicker rim might snag up in some speed loaders. But if you've got a 22 revolver hollering to be used, this is the stuff that'll put it back in the saddle. It's like an old ranch dog, cheap to feed, loyal as hell, and ready for work. Federal Hammer. Down 22 long rifle, lever action diehards, listen up, the Federal Hammer. Down 22 long rifle is made with you in mind. Henry, Marlin, Winchester folk, this one's yours. We're talking a 40-grain flat-nose, solid copper slug, moving at 1,260 feet per second from a 20-inch barrel tailor-made for tube-fed rifles. Why flat-nose? 'Cause pointy bullets in a tube magazine are just asking for trouble. One bump, and you're flirting with a primer-to-bullet chain reaction. Federal plated smart here keeps things safe and still packs a punch. Out in the woods, this round earns its keep. That solid copper slug mushrooms out all the way down to 900 feet per second, so it'll take care of small critters even from short barrels or stretched out shots. I took it out hunting with my Henry Golden Boy, and it drops squirrels like switching off a light. Clean kills, no fuss. Nickel-plated cases feed smooth and shrug off the rust handy when you're stomping through soggy timber. And get this, the box even comes with trajectory tables for lever rifles with iron sights. Now that's some thoughtful touch. At $13.99 for 50 rounds, it ain't plinking ammo. It's for folks out chasing meat. If that K-chunk of a lever, throwing brass, gets your heart going, this is your load. It's the shooting equivalent of a worn-in saddle blanket built for the job. No frills, full of grit. Remington Standard Phi 22. Long rifle. Finally, we've got the Remington Standard. Vi 22 long rifle, the kind of round that says, don't worry, I've got you covered. This one's the all-rounder. Just right for plinking, teaching the kids, or knocking down small game. It's a 40-grain, copper-plated round nose moving at 1,220 feet per second, made to run smooth in whatever gun you've got, pistols, rifles, semi-autos, the whole bunch. What's impressive is how well it flexes. That new powder blend keeps things steady across the barrel lengths, so your zero doesn't bounce around whether you're running a 4-inch Ruger or a 16-inch 1022. The Surefire primer don't flinch in the cold or wet, and those nickel-plated cases slide through a chamber like they've been greased. Plus, they won't rust if left out overnight in a damp truck box. I've sent hundreds of these downrange, and it's soda can accurate at 50 yards plenty fine for the work I do. At $6.99 for 50 rounds, or cheaper if you grab the 525-round bulk pack, it's the kind of budget ammo that don't act like it. Not the quietest, not the hottest, but the one you'll reach for when you need something that just plain runs. Think of it as the pickup truck of 22 long rifles, simple, tough, and built for whatever's ahead. So there you go, folks. These 7 new 22 long rifle rounds go to show that rimfire ain't just hanging on, it's thriving like never before here in 2025. Whether you're after tack driving accuracy, ethical hunting, or just passing time at the range, there ain't ever been a better time to be a 22 shooter. These ain't your run-of-the-mill upgrades. They're purpose-built, no-compromise rounds made for how we really shoot out here. So, which one's calling your name? Drop us a line in the comments, and don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. Stay sharp out there, and keep those barrels warm.